What's going on, guys? Episode 22. We have on Glass Crane. I'm out here looking like a lumbersexual for Lunar New Year. I'm hot as shit, also. I don't own any red t shirts, so this is what I'm stuck with. Glass Crane is a digital artist, also. He is a decently, successful artist, right? I think he's over 100 art pieces sold at this point, doing pretty well in the space. We go through, what got him to that space, what got him started into the art in general, his learning process, his motivation process, everything else in between. Great talk. I want to say, if you're going to only listen to half, flip into the second half. I really think that, the juices start flowing pretty well in like that second half of the podcast where it becomes a lot more casual and free flowing. You just kind of, click with a person. And I think that we really hit that. So listen to the whole podcast. I appreciate it. If you haven't seen his podcast with Parrot, it was also good. A lot more technical in the space. So if you're a digital artist and you want to kind of hear that kind of nuanced stuff, also awesome. It'll be down in the show notes. Let me know what you guys think. Always appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Later.
Or how did you meet Corey?
So, I got well, actually, you could bring this up in the interview too. But I've been friends with Corey for like 10 years. He lives like on West Coast,
We're
and
live. Sorry.
we are live.
Yeah, I just hit it live just because I figured it's relevant. Cool. My bad. I just wanted you to know.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, yeah, I've known Corey Myers for like 10 years. We were both like graphic designers in the music industry, and yeah, he was like one of the dudes who, when I first opened Photoshop, like before I even got into 3D, he helped me out a lot. He was always like giving me good critique and that kind of stuff, and we became friends over the years.
Nice. So Corey's in California?
I think he's in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So Corey is planned for tomorrow, and then I'm not really trying to pigeonhole into just digital artists. Like I find you guys and the collectors and stuff like that to be extremely interesting. And so I want to hit it. I want to, engage with people that I like their art and, that are doing well or up and coming and everything else in between. But for me, like I want to hit people that are interesting. So I actually had my buddy on Tuesday, and I knew him from college. I used to do Muay Thai. And so he is an actual master, like above black belt in Filipino stick fighting. And so he competed in like an actual stick fighting league that was in Canada because it wasn't legal in the States, and then went on to be like a stuntman. And so we had like a great talk. And then tonight at 6, I have like a card collector, and I don't want to like, I don't know, ruin his tax, but he's made quite a lot of money. I don't know if he claims taxes on cards. And so he's made a ton of money like collecting and flipping cards. And so like that's, a part of that collection and, just flipping space that kind of NFTs are also a part of. And so it's really just, what are people doing through COVID, and, what can people do on their own time to, increase their income or increase their fun or find a new hobby and everything else in between.
Right.
So
yeah, are you talking like the Top Shots kind of cards?
So I have been discussing Top Shots too, and I'll probably hit that with him. But he actually has just always been physical cards, as far as I know.
Okay.
And so like we were waiting, and he runs like 3 businesses, and he had been waiting on like a $40,000 Zion Williamson card to come in from PSA from like a grading thing. And so that'll be like a cool thing to show off. And so, just ripping packs and buying raw and then grading and, just the business of cards, because that's
totally
pretty awesome too.
Yeah, that one streamer, Logan Paul, made some waves with like the, I don't know, like $300,000 Pokemon box unboxing or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's crazy, man. Wish I would have kept all my old cards from when I was a kid.
Yeah, I had mine. My brother made a trade with his buddy, came home. The buddy decided he didn't want the trade anymore, told his mom that it got stolen. My brother stole it. My dad goes, all right, Pokemon cards are done. Took all the Pokemon cards. I live on like the East Coast, and we got wrecked by Hurricane Sandy. He kept all the cards, didn't tell us, and they fucking floated in Hurricane Sandy. So those things are gone.
Oh.
But like, yeah,
it's a likely story, honestly.
Yeah.
Some of the most unbalanced, sneaky trades of everyone's life involved Pokemon cards, I feel.
Yeah, I had to have like a low key hidden Pokemon card collection because somebody gave me a card that they had like five of, and then I started trading that one and whatever. Um, I guess we'll just kind of like hop into it, but I was really curious. Obviously, you had mentioned in your Parrot podcast with him that you got started
Mhm.
because you were looking for odd jobs in terms of what you could do to make money in between touring with. You think you said a like a heavy metal band?
Yeah, yeah. I was in like a metal kind of electronic
Mhm.
mixture type of band, and yeah, it was really hard to make money in
Mhm.
between tours because most of the jobs we would get would just be sick of our shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I got to figure out a way to do this
Mhm.
alone.
Mhm.
You know.
So, how did you actually get started with like actually making art? Like, it was just always like a passion, or you went to school for it, or like, how did you begin making art?
I don't know, man. Like I always drew and stuff when I was a kid,
Mhm.
which is funny because I can't really draw for shit
Mhm.
now. But yeah, I think just at some point I just felt super inspired. A lot of it was going to shows.
Mhm.
And like I mentioned to Parrot, I saw this producer called Tipper. He was
Mhm.
like a legendary producer DJ, and every time he played a show, he always had this like 20-foot LED screen
Mhm.
where there's always different visual artists going up there and showcasing their animations all timed to the music. And I think it was just one of those nights I looked up and saw that and knew that's what I wanted to do. And so it was like kind of a slow build towards that, where
Mhm.
started with stills, and I had a lot of people kind of help me along the way, just cool dudes that would help answer questions. Hey, how do I animate this, or how do I do this? And kind of just started expanding my toolbox.
Mhm.
You
Nice.
know,
Yeah. So for
but yeah, I always knew I wanted to do something art related. Put it that way.
yeah, I have no art ability whatsoever. The way that you can't draw, I can't do anything. So yeah. So I guess like you had also mentioned the master classes. Have you been continuing with that? Like, do you plan to keep on with like the master classes? Obviously, this is a thing that you're going to always keep learning new techniques, and there's going to be new tools and stuff to that extent.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of live my life by the mentor system to a degree, where it's
Mm.
like, I don't think, aside from I went to um, New York to study under Ben Ridgway, and he was doing like a weekend long thing where it was almost like an intro to ZBrush.
Mm.
And I was already, relatively fluent in how the program worked and all that. But that's just little things like that are something I think I would continue to do.
Mm.
Um, Especially now, like my goals for this year are kind of to try to move more into real time rendering. So
Mm.
like Unreal predominantly, I think
Mm.
is where I need to put some more of my focus, just because not having that render wait time bottleneck
Mm.
is going to be huge as far as the prolificness I'm able to achieve with my art, and then ultimately the fidelity and the interactivity of my art moving forward in a real time environment.
Mm. Yeah. So now, are you almost learning like a a parallel to video game development then? Because Unreal is used for like Gears of War, and I know a couple of different games. Like, I was a big Gears of War head as a kid, so that's why like when you say Unreal, that's what clicks for me. So you're
Yeah,
almost building video games out, right?
absolutely. I mean, it's the parallels to what I'm doing and what I want to be doing in a year from now. Um, they're essentially interchangeable. If I were to acquire the skills necessary to create my art at the level that I want to, using real time rendering, using Unreal,
Mm.
then you know the those same skill sets that I would acquire, I could get hired by a game studio
Mm.
and very well just do things like that. Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that line moving forward is going to be getting blurred,
Mm.
um, because especially for a 3D artist, you create an OBJ, you create like a mesh or an FBX or whatever, um, and then once you learn like how to UV it properly, how to paint the model, and if you're getting into real-time rendering, how to keep the model at a size that is, you're capable of displaying it in a VR gallery or whatever. Like
Mm.
that's all video game asset creation. That's the whole pipeline.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
So yeah,
sorry. So then, is that your kind of goal that you want to get into video game development, or is that just kind of that it is similar?
yeah. I don't think I don't think I have too much of a desire to create my own game.
Mm,
Like I definitely have a desire to create interactive experiences. But just designing a game just sounds like a lot of stress,
yeah.
you know. And I feel like a lot of my creative force comes from trying to minimize stressors in my life and remaining positive,
Mm,
optimistic. So it's like especially moving into crypto art in the last 6 7 months or whatever. um, I've noticed an improvement in my ability to come up with concepts and to execute concepts that I've had in my mind, just because I'm not having to worry about taking commissions anymore and making art for other people what they want you
mm.
know
So, like for you, like what do you do in terms of like a day-to-day basis in terms of like trying to keep that mental positivity that maybe are applicable to other people? Like, are you like a big meditator? Goltra mentioned that he's using the Calm app. And I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you try and stay positive and stay focused, kind of thing?
Honestly, like the people I surround myself with, my fiance, my friends, and I interact daily with so many of these people that I love and admire, that in turn inspire me. um that's like I have "Stay Posy" tattooed on my knuckles. Like, it's not because I am the most positive, but it's like a reminder to
Mm,
be that way, just because I know that if I play to my strengths, I'm going to be performing at my best if I'm staying positive. And
mm,
it's kind of like a perspective shift that it can't really be taught, but you kind of just have to acquire and just kind of learn the ins and outs of. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, you get up, and it's a good practice you know, just to keep in your head, hey, today's not going to suck,
mm,
and I got this and this and this going for me, and this person that I love loves me, and it's all just a kind of a like a snowball effect of everything around that kind of keeps a positive mental attitude. And if I wake up and find that I don't have that, which has obviously happened, just as it would for everyone, um, that's when I kind of think, okay, what's causing this, and what can I change to turn this back into my favor. You
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, like that positivity and the optimism, right, is super imperative to people's success, right? Like there's a saying, the
know?
person who thinks he can and the person who thinks he can't are both right, right? And so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like my favorite quote is by Colin Powell, and it's perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. And
Yeah.
it really, I think it's true. I mean, it kind of goes back to, I think there's like a thing on Netflix called The Secret, where it's like, if you want something bad enough, the world will, bend and conspire to for you to get it, which I don't think is necessarily true on like a mystical level,
Mm,
but more so on like a calculated scientific one,
mm,
where if you have a goal but you're not always thinking about that goal, then decisions and opportunities that arise that could potentially be good for that goal, you might not catch them, or
mm,
they might not be apparent to you. Whereas if it's something you're super focused on, and you're letting it radiate throughout your life, you're not going to miss those opportunities. You're not going to pass over thinking a little deeper about something, and you're going to catch those things that could be potentially helpful towards that goal.
yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think that's kind of part of that obsessiveness that is going to drive somebody to that, right? Like when you are like for you as like an artist, as you're walking down the street, like you might see certain scenes that you can kind of incorporate. I went through a phase pre-pandemic where I was trying to do stand up, and so you're just sitting
Mhm.
there walking and like working, and it's like, oh, that's a joke, like and stuff to that extent. And so it's one of those things where like I wouldn't even be thinking about it, but like I knew that I wanted to do comedy kind of thing. And so like you
Yep.
spend some time writing, and then sometimes I don't know, I have a weird thing with my subconscious where it just kind of brings shit to top of mind, and it's like,
Right.
oh, that's cool, that's a joke kind of thing. Yeah, I
Yep.
think that obsessiveness
Totally.
is key.
Yeah, it's like an obsessiveness, and it's like I think the most important word for it would be an awareness. Like, as
Mm,
far as there's things like self-awareness. um, but I think that if you're just constantly aware of yourself and what your goals are, then, like I said, when those kind of things pop up, or when that joke, you know, that you normally would have missed is teetering on the edge of your tongue, you can kind of just pluck it,
mm,
because you're already you were ready for that. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, totally, man.
yeah. So what does a day in the life of Glass Crane look like at this point?
A lot of my time, I mean, I spend a lot of time with my fiance and my friends.
Mm,
Not as much time with my friends, unfortunately, just COVID.
mm,
Um, but I usually just kind of wake up and chill, get some Starbucks or something,
mm,
and a lot of it is just kind of in my head conceptualizing, like, what I'm gonna do. Um, when I'm thinking about making a piece of artwork, it's like it all just kind of starts in my head, and I don't really sketch much, but it's like, I'll just have kind of like little snapshots of things that I either had in a dream the night before, and I
mm,
kind of just think about what I'm gonna do, and usually I'll sit at my desk for a couple hours and try to just learn something.
mm,
I'll put on like a ZBrush tutorial or whatever, and I'll try to just learn a new technique and just kind of fiddle with that a little bit.
mm,
Um, just because if I don't, I feel like if I don't at least try to learn something every day, then what ends up happening is I'll make a piece of art and I end up kind of dipping into that same toolbox,
mm.
that I've been dipping into. So it's like that's probably one of my greatest fears as an artist is not being able to uh, not being able to innovate beyond what I've already done.
Mm,
You know. So yeah, I usually spend a couple hours just making assets, just making cool things, cool geometry, or learning a cool technique
mm,
that I can potentially use later. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. And then one day I wake up and it's like, oh, I want to do the piece today.
mm,
So I kind of take all those skills that I've learned over the last however many days and try to put it together.
mm. So so coincidentally, I listened to the Sam Harris podcast last night that it came out, and it was about like what are dreams, right? And
Mhm.
so I didn't know that you were gonna say that, and this is just happy coincidence. But so like, what do you think like are what do you think dreams are in terms of the aspect in terms of your art? I didn't realize that you were going to say that you dream things and then put it into your art. I dream very rarely, or at
Mhm.
least I forget it a lot, and so maybe it's in the subconscious, but my conscious brain is not very aware of any dreams that I've had for the most part. But it sounds like
Yeah.
you have much more vivid, or that they are coming to fruition in your art.
Yeah, I do have pretty vivid dreams, but I often do not remember them at all.
Mm,
What it would just, same as you, but I know I have them, and I usually wake up and I'm left with like the feeling of the impact of them. You
mm,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's usually me just kind of thinking about that feeling where I'm able to kind of pluck imagery, um, and the imagery that I kind of take out of there is never exact. It's usually like, okay, I had a dream. I know it was kind of something about this, and I
Mm,
felt this way, and I would just kind of conjure up an image in my head of what that feeling means visually.
mm,
Um, as far as what I think a dream is, I think that I the closest I've heard it described is like it's your brain's way of kind of parsing what either happened during that day and mentally preparing yourself for you know like a split inception of different possible outcomes.
mm,
you know
yeah.
like I feel like a lot of my dreams are very situational and grounded in reality,
Mm,
but there's always that kind of like surreal aspect to them that makes me aware when I'm in the dream, like, hold on, this isn't real.
yeah.
you know I don't like dream in DMT or anything like that. It's like
Uh,
pretty standard stuff.
yeah, yeah. I haven't worn this actually before, and so this is the War Unicorns. I figured it was
Mhm.
relevant just due to a lot of your designs and stuff like that. And so it's
That's dope.
a unicorn, not a unicorn, but a rhinoceros. It's a I had joined a softball chat on Facebook to try and buy a new glove, and they put up a jersey, and it was basically like, "Do you want to support the team?" And I thought it was dope, and it's
Yeah.
a little bit relevant to what you just said with the DMT stuff. So I figured I'll rock it for this. I haven't actually worn it before because I don't know if I could wear this outside. I don't
You can,
know.
man. Let your colors fly, bro. Let them fly.
Yeah. I just thought it
I
was sick.
usually wear all black, and all my like
Mhm.
best friends always make fun of me because my art's so colorful, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty much just black and Adidas and
Uh-huh.
sportswear, like just
Yeah.
lazy and comfortable.
Comfortable. Comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comfortable is key. So, so you mentioned that like you don't really want to get into game design, and you are still going to try and learn Unreal, right? So, like you're obviously having great success, and that's awesome. So, congrats for that. Do
Thank you.
you like where do you want to take this given where you're at now? Like where do you see it in like a year or 5 years?
I don't know, man. Like I was like I talk to Ben Ridgway pretty often.
Mm,
He's like, huge inspiration of mine, and I recently did a collaboration with him, and he has it in his head that I'm going to be, a producer.
mm,
Um, which I see some like parallels to my skill sets as far as, communicating and networking.
mm,
Um, but the more as time passes, I'm starting to think that maybe he might be correct. That might be something that I enjoy.
mm,
Um, but it's like right now I'm in a race to kind of expand my own artistic skill sets,
mm,
and as I'm doing so, and as in order to gain success in doing so, kind of relies on the other aspect of what a producer does, which is the networking and the management of time, and connecting with myself and with other people.
mm,
So I think that something I would be interested in doing would be to maybe kind of art director produce a short film or
mm,
something like an animated thing.
mm.
Um, I got it in my head that I would like to do almost like a DMT trip simulation.
Yeah.
Um, and this is something I've told a couple people, but I think I would really enjoy doing that kind of, you know, getting a bunch of really, really cool, awesome artists together to kind of animate and breathe life into some different aspects of what like a linear or a forced linear trip would be,
Mm,
you know. So something like that would be cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any huge plans really.
mm,
It's mostly trying to focus on my art, and if something like that were to come into fruition, I think I would enjoy it.
mm. Awesome. Yeah. So from your last podcast, I had like listened through, and I've listened to Tipper. I haven't seen him live, but
Mm,
going through and like watching like his sets with Android Jones, I wanted to. It was exactly what I expected. I'm not gonna lie. Not that I
yeah,
would come up with it, but like it's not like, oh, that went left where I thought it was gonna go right. But
right.
obviously incredible. Do you think that you would want to try and do that kind of thing too?
Like a live set.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I didn't really talk about this with Parrot at all, but I actually do
Mm.
that a lot.
Oh, okay.
I VJ'd for Tipper for his New Orleans run.
Mm,
I did like his Friday night set
mm,
in New Orleans in collaboration with another group of VJs who works at Tipper often called Datagramma.
mm,
But yeah, like no one before COVID, like I was pretty, I was taking quite a few gigs. And then once COVID hit, I kind of ramped that up. I was doing all the streams
mm,
and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to be a big part of what I do. I love the live performance aspect.
mm,
Um, I'm a musician at heart as well, and I kind of got out of the music a little bit to focus more on the art. So to
mm,
be able to perform with my art kind of ticks a couple of those boxes for me
mm.
that I'm missing from performing live music.
Yeah.
You know, um, just because I just love to perform and for other people, and it's VJing is such a cool way to do it because it's I could just work for a month on a bunch of content
Mm,
and I don't have to show anybody, and then all of a sudden I could just unveil it live, audio reactive,
mm.
slamming it with live effects, and it just makes it this like really cool tactile way to show people your art. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, Nifty Gateway had a drop with Blau. I'm 95% sure I'm pronouncing that right, but there's a
hmm
chance that it's 3 Lau. But yeah,
I
uh,
I know he had a really super rare. I didn't know
mm,
Nifty he had Nifty either, but that's cool.
yeah, he did a piece that was actually going to come with like a physical, and
hmm
so that's like pretty dope. I feel like there's I mean, I've posed the question on Twitter, but I do think that like a one of one of like a full set of like say something that you made for like Tipper, dude, like
hmm
there I mean that would be next level in terms of like something that somebody could own, like obviously
Totally.
it's longer and it's a much bigger piece and much longer rendering, but imagine somebody got to own the whatever the main headliners act at XYZ festival, like that would
Right.
be an incredible piece to be able to own on the blockchain.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Like actually recently I reached out to Tipper to see um how you'd feel about like creating an NFT or creating a piece of music or whatever.
Mm,
He wasn't very receptive to it, but I think that it's the barrier for entry still is a bit high, especially for an artist who's been around for a long time.
mm,
Just simply to understand what this is,
mm,
And like an artist like Tipper holds his music very close. When you see him live, it's pretty much 90% songs that he has not released and likely will never release,
Mm,
because he wants you to experience his music in the moment, how it's meant to, on the
mm,
on the proper sound, which I totally respect that.
mm,
But I think as NFTs gain more traction, I think we're going to find a lot more musicians who want to kind of get into the fray.
mm.
I don't know if you ever heard of the producer Truth.
No.
There's a couple guys. Their name's Truth, and it's like really deep kind of halftime electronic music.
Mm,
And I've been kind of talking to them and thinking about possibly doing an NFT with those guys,
mm.
and to be doing some art for them. So I think that would be really cool. But yeah, no, I look forward to more musicians, and I actually look forward to a platform kind of dedicated to giving the tools musicians need to create awesome NFTs.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a step in the right direction, right? Like the same way that you guys as artists in your space, I don't think that, from a streaming standpoint, artists in the musical space are getting compensated correctly, right? Like there's so many articles that, they're getting, I don't know, 3 to 5 cents per song played. So like it's really
Yeah.
just it's insane.
No, I mean, for visual artists, NFTs have been like just the most mind blowing thing ever, and
Mm,
it's like, to imagine these musicians, how hard they work to be able to really get a taste of that too. Like I feel like not only is it coming, but it's absolutely necessary.
yeah.
Because the ways in which a musician can monetize their craft right now, um, it's just it's not even there. Like it doesn't even make sense.
Mm,
It's like you have to be top 40 almost to really do well. I mean,
mm,
unless you got your hands in other things, you're producing for other people. But
mm,
it's like Spotify's a joke,
yeah.
as far as how they pay out. So it's a I feel like a lot of what NFTs are doing are filling the void and filling these holes that need to be filled and need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And it's already here for visual artists, and I think it's gonna continue strongly, and it needs to come for audio as well. That's why I'm really hoping a platform shows up, with a focus on it. You
Mm.
know.
Yeah, I think Chance the Rapper, like I believe it's him, like refused to sign with a like any kind of agency because he was selling like his own merch, and he was just like, "You're gonna fuck me over. Like I'm gonna get
Yeah.
nickels on the dollar compared to what you're gonna end up making off of me." And so I believe Chance like doesn't sign isn't signed to a label. I don't know if that's still the case. I'm really not too positive, but
Yeah. I mean, I was like, when I was in the height of my music career, I was signed to Rise Records,
mm,
Sony BMG. It's like a subsidiary of Sony,
mm,
and it's just a joke, straight
yeah,
up. Like, it's something where, okay, they funded the record or whatever,
mm,
and it's like that. I feel like that was something that we could have funded if we just waited
mm,
and just didn't take the first or second deal that we got offered. And now it's like, oh, all of a sudden we don't even own our masters, and they can dictate down to how we dress.
mm,
So it's like, I think it's really important that, unless that deal looks really, really good as a musician,
mm,
try to do it by yourself. Like, the organic growth is going to just be so much more rewarding.
mm,
um, and I notice a lot of that in like the EDM and festival, like kind of jam circuit,
mm,
where you got these, like a jam band that's got a quarter of the amount of likes on their social media, but yet every single time they play, it's in front of 20,000 people.
yeah,
And it's because their fan base is different. Their
yeah,
fan base is organic, and they're loyal. Whereas some of these like bigger labels, like especially in rock and metal, are
mm,
like, it seems to be the worst offenders, where it's like most of it is smoke and mirrors.
mm,
And it's like, how can you even tell the difference between who's a fan and what real engagement is,
mm,
when everyone's just trying to inflate their numbers.
yeah. So, are you still involved with the band or making music at all, or no?
No, not really. I have a project called Vision with
Mm,
a good buddy of mine. His name's
mm,
Sean. It's like just bass music project,
mm,
where it's slow going right now just because he's busy doing his thing and I'm busy doing mine.
yeah,
So it's kind of one of those things where we end up interfacing and get pumped for it and put a couple tunes out, and it's really fun. And it can slow down because we're back doing other things, but I like it just because, it's no stress.
Yeah.
I didn't like making music and being stressed, and I feel like it should be, kind of a fun thing,
Mhm.
because you enjoy doing it. So
Yeah.
why do it in a way that makes it a job and makes it miserable for you?
Mm. Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely. I mean that's why I'm doing this, right? Like I just like talking to you guys.
Yeah,
If it becomes work or I'm not having fun, like I don't want to do this, you know. So
yeah. It's like if you get like a manager and they're like telling you who to interview and they're
yeah,
just a bunch of dicks and you have to control the conversation, you're not having fun. It's like why do it?
yeah, yeah. So
You know?
so like for you, do you think that you could put out your own set? Like you're talking about doing other DJ stuff, right? But then you have your own music thing. So could you put out your own music and then put out your own VJ and then put it on as an NFT?
Yeah, well, that's definitely a goal of mine. Is to start creating my own audio visual
Mm,
projects. But I think it's more realistic just to do it with a musician who's
mm,
already super talented and wants to collaborate with me. I would like to do it by myself at some point, just
mm.
like maybe I'll put something out that I make both the music and the visuals for.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Like I think I find so much value in collaboration in general that I think it would just be more fun and less stressful if
yeah,
I did it with somebody else, you know?
yeah. So for like collabing, like I'm assuming it just becomes a who you mesh with and stuff to that extent, or like what do you really enjoy out of it? Like how do you get started? The whole kind of process. Obviously, the fun parts.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I like collabs just because they're kind of a challenge, because I have to interface with somebody else who's also, an artist that I admire. So
Mm,
it's like, it's kind of a fun game to find kind of that middle ground that is going to, play to both of our strengths. Let's
mm,
say I'm doing, a collab with one other visual artist. Um, like you interviewed Lane.
mm,
He's a really good friend of mine, and I've been teaching him a bunch of stuff, and it got to the point where he's getting really good, and it's like, hey, let's try to flex what we've learned a little bit and try to see if we can create something together.
mm,
And it's all about just trying to each other, and it's like you don't really have to have a set plan. It's just kind of make something, I'll make something, and then you make something, and let's see
mm.
if it turns out cool.
Yeah.
So, but I like collabs just because when I'm doing my own piece of art, I'm holding its hand all the way through until
Mm,
the end, and I kind of know where it's gonna go because I'm the one guiding it there, and it's cool when I can make a piece of art myself and I can kind of surprise myself. It's like, oh shit, I didn't know it was gonna go that direction.
mm.
But with somebody else, if I'm doing a collab, it's like it's always a surprise. It's like, all right, I sent him my files. Let's see what he does.
Yeah.
It comes back, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know you'd take it that way. This is
Mm.
cool. So there's always that kind of surprise aspect of happy accidents, I guess.
Uh, have you ever taken a piece and then like say you send him a file that's 50% done and then he takes it the other 50%, right? Have you
Mhm.
ever done because to me when you were talking about it, right, what came to mind is like, are you familiar with the FRS BRZ, the Subaru and the Toyota, the GT86? They put out the same car across like two
Mhm.
platforms, and then like they kind of like stylized it a little bit differently. And
Yeah,
the my issue is like Subarus are known for all wheel drive, and then there's like a big front wheel drive component to like a lot of Toyotas, right? And so
hmm
my thought process was like, why did they make the exact same car and then just like badge it a little bit differently? That's basically how it came out. So my
yeah,
thought process was like, if you give somebody and they do the other 50%, but then you still put out the other 50%, then you have like the full glass crane version, but then you have the glass crane lane version, right? And like you could do
right,
it kind of that way in terms of, I don't know, maybe the accents for you are Aztec and his are alien, right? And like and something to
right.
that extent, right? I don't know. I just think it'd be a cool concept in terms of having different, maybe even having like two
Having
collaborators.
Yeah, so like that's actually kind of a cool concept. I've thought of that before, where say I were to do a collaboration with someone and we swap assets, we each create our own version,
Mm,
and then collab on a third version, and then drop all three.
yeah,
You know, yeah, that's definitely cool, and that's actually a really good analogy because like I don't know if you remember what was it the like the Mitsubishi Eclipse.
hmm,
There was like I swear to God like 9 different versions of that car.
yeah,
Like Plymouth released one, and like Eagle released the Talon,
hmm,
and it's like I always wondered that too, but I noticed that you know, if I feel like if you, as a company, if you come out with a design that works,
Mhm.
um, you're gonna try to stretch that out as many different ways as you can and try different things. So it's like, okay, say you have a Mitsubishi Eclipse, but
Mhm.
you want to try a new feature or a new look. Well, let's not try it on a Mitsubishi car. Let's try it over here and see if it works.
Mhm.
You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah. I liked that was like a big thing as far as like cars go. Like I really liked the Scion brand because the Scion brand was just, kind of Toyota. I don't know, it felt like they were doing fun shit. Like they were just
They're
doing
experimenting, yeah.
yes. They had like that box car that was like a little bit weird, but then like the TC was like a sportier car and, everything else that they had going on. It was just a like a fun change of pace as far as Toyota because I love Toyota. They're reliable, but they're not like a wow kind of thing. And like some of
Yeah.
those Scions had that pop.
Yep. Totally. That's kind of something I kind of wish that I could do in a way. Um, like I wish that I could almost have like a secondary alias or something where
Mm,
I could do like everyday stuff and just
mm,
experiment. And but it kind of, I noticed it would kind of like divide my time if
mm,
I were to, because what I usually do is I'll make a piece, and if I don't think it's like mint worthy or whatever, I'll just drop it on Facebook and show my friends and stuff.
mm.
But it'd be cool to have like a secondary kind of outlet where, if I wanted to do something completely not glass crane,
Yeah,
I could, you know.
yeah.
But
That that's
experimentation is important.
yeah. That's actually like a solid segue. It's a question that I've like been asking because so like Goltra has his collection style, right? And a
Hmm.
lot of artists have, pieces that are clearly, whatever, glass crane for glass crane pieces. But
Mm,
at the same time, like that's not I don't know, to me, I like to do a lot of different shit, right? Like one day I want to play basketball, the next day I want to play ping pong, right? Like it's
yeah.
just it's totally different. And so for me, like I felt like obviously like I said, I have no artistic talent. I'm not getting in the space. But if I did, like one day I might want to do like black and white noir, and another day I might want to do like some kind of like liquid visualization. But like for you, like I feel like at a certain point, like yeah, do you think that's gonna? I mean, obviously we don't want to leak, but like, do you think that'll
But
be a happening?
yeah, I mean, I've, especially lately, I've been trying to experiment more. I've been on kind of a more of a surrealism kick lately.
Mm,
Um, just because, as far as like the really, really psychedelic inspired uh, imagery, um, it's kind of that's a little bit harder for me to nail down,
mm,
just because um, I've done so many variants and kind of uh, tried to act as a cartographer of so many angles of that space
mm,
already, that it's like, until I kind of go back in and revisit and kind of recharge that particular creative area, um, then my brain kind of reverts to more of like a full on experimentation creative mode, where my love for surrealism and artists like Salvador Dali,
mm,
and even crypto artists, like I really love Frenetic Void,
mm,
and like Martyrium's really, really awesome too.
mm.
So it's like my brain kind of reverts back that way when I'm not doing the super trippy stuff.
Yeah.
But that, I like surrealism because it allows me to do kind of what you just said, is more of like an experimentation with different color palettes, with different kind of moods and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think moving forward, definitely, there's going to be a lot more surrealism coming out of me,
Mm,
just because it is kind of a sandbox,
mm,
Whereas when I'm creating like DMT inspired imagery, it's a very kind of specific language, um, geometric language, and kind of vibe that it has to pretty much hit me like a ton of bricks in order for me to create it
mm,
adequately, if that
mm.
makes a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I noticed on the Parrot podcast, and then I was going through, like I said, through a lot of like Android Jones stuff, and I noticed that the tapestry that was behind your head was
Hmm.
very like was one of his. And so I
Hmm.
guess like for me, like I've recently picked up a lot more interest into like shoes, right, and stuff to that extent. And so I went through a phase last year where I like designed a T-shirt. I went to go try and
Hmm.
print it. I didn't get hit back a couple times, and then COVID was hitting, and so it just became like not a great time for it. And so, not to really get into that, but like, how much do you obviously, right? Like you said that you like to wear a lot of like black, but in terms of like designing your own house, like, do you have a game plan in terms of like maybe tapestries or artworks of your own or other pieces, or like how much of what you make do you want to shape your world with?
For sure. I mean, I don't like. I have like some things of mine hanging up. Like I got a canvas over there of
Awesome.
Defense Node.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. A lot of the artwork and stuff around my house is mostly just those I admire. Like I have a lot of Android Jones stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like my friends' art and things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hopefully in the next year or so, I'm either gonna buy a house or build a house.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, and it's gonna be how I want it. I want a huge office, and I want to be surrounded by art. I want it to be a comfortable
Yeah.
kind of creative space where me and my friends can just go in there and do our thing. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I'm not really a good interior designer, I guess.
Mm.
My fiance would be much better at that. But yeah, no, I do try to surround myself with as much art as possible.
Nice. So
Yeah.
I guess another little bit of like a hard pivot, but I'm curious because talking to you guys, I haven't really noticed that you guys are very stereotypical artists, right? Like in terms of the historical sense, right? Like you're not very, none of you guys are very uppity, none of you guys are very aloof, right? Like there's not this, I don't know, black hat French kind of take, and there's not this like floating through life kind of take. Like a lot of you guys are very driven. And so do you think that there's like a clear difference between you guys and like regular artists, or this is just kind of like a subsect, or what do you think to that?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing is, you've been interviewing a lot of digital artists.
Mm,
And I think that there's a lot of kind of qualities that that combine to make a digital artist, where
mm,
it's someone who's very in touch with technology and computers in general. And in
mm,
order to do that, you can't do it alone. You need to hit up forums, or you need to talk to people, or you need to meet some dude in a video game and he
mm,
tells you about this and you get into that. So it's like, I feel like digital art's been, this huge sort of amalgamation of personalities. Whereas, I mean, I don't really know much about fine art as far as, I just don't know many actual like hoity-toity fine artists who are super weird and bite their own ear off and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That like
mm,
the meta's kind of changed as far as that goes.
mm,
In my experience,
mm.
I think like kind of the coolest guy I know in that aspect would be Android Jones.
Uh,
Like he's got this. You go to his farm and it's like he like works on his farm all day and he's just building just super cool shit all over the
yeah.
place, and he's wearing like these like weird pants with like velcro all over them with just different shit stuck to it. And at first glance, you'd think he'd like, wow, that guy's out of his mind, but he's really just doing exactly what he wants to do, and he loves
Mm,
to do all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I don't know. I agree with you that I feel like when you meet an artist, it seems that they're less and less kind of just weird
mm,
and more just people just doing what they love to do as a
yeah.
result of just kind of that connectedness. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Lord
I'm,
Iris
I'm
hopped
pretty
in and
sure.
said,
I'm
"What's
pretty
up?"
sure if you're like, if you go to like a really crazy, fine art gallery, you're probably going to meet some people with feathers in their hat, and they're like, nails, but of course,
Uh,
you know.
yeah. Yeah. Lord Iris. Sorry, I hopped in while you were talking. Lord Iris said, "What's up? What's good, fam?"
Oh, word. What up? What up?
So yeah, my brother. So I managed to like get a couple of like cause pieces, and so yeah, my brother ended up telling me, "Oh, I've heard of him." My brother does not know art. I don't know. Do you know cause? He makes some like little figurines. Some of them are like Sesame Street styled, like the X's on the eyes. Any
What is it? What is this called?
cause? KAWS.
Pause?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
I think he's going to be actually putting out like some digital art too, but
Mm.
he's like a very well known, well, a decently well known artist within like more like the streetwear kind of thing. Actually, one of his pieces got stolen out of. He has a storefront that had like a 4-footer, and somebody had broken into the store in New York City and walked out with it. Um,
Oh man,
so
that sucks.
yeah, but like I do agree with you that I think that there's a lot less to your point, right? Like the hoity toity, and
Hmm.
it's impressive, it's inclusive, and I don't know, I just appreciate it a lot, right? Like I want that kind of community kind of thing, and so I'm happy that you guys are making what you guys want to see.
Yep, totally.
So you mentioned like with your wanting to buy like a house or building a house, but like I'm curious what your day to day kind of just setup is, right? Like I saw that you had like similar to my chair, the racer back chair in terms of like
Hmm.
gaming. obviously this is a time frame where people are like kind of stuck inside a lot more. Like, do you have like a standing desk? Like, I'm just curious for other people's sake and my own of what your home setup is for comfort.
Damn, I'm in my room now. Otherwise, I'd just show
It's all
you.
good.
My computer's all plugged in. But yeah, like I got like a Secret Labs chair,
Mm.
I have a big desk. It's actually two desks put together. I call it Mega Desk, and it's two like L-shaped desks.
Mm,
Yeah, I love the office.
mm,
But yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get to a point where it's pretty well optimized.
mm,
I got like the arm, like the kind of robot kind of arms for my monitors, so
mm.
things where I can, get comfortable and move things around.
Yeah.
No standing desk, even though I probably should get one, but I would have to get like the giant one that can have just an unspeakable amount of shit on it.
Yeah. Or
So, because
make
I got like, yeah,
electronic
I got
mega
like,
desk, two of those.
yeah. You know what? It's not a bad idea. But no, like my workspace is, I have like couches in there, big screen TV. Like I like you know, when my friends or my fiance are just in there doing their own thing. Like I like having people around me when I work.
Mm,
I don't. There's sometimes when I like to be alone if I'm really focused on something, but whenever that happens, everyone just kind of leaves me alone and I do the thing.
mm,
But on average, I like a little bit of hustle and bustle.
mm.
You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because I don't know, I just don't want to be alone all day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Company is good.
good man. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So at this point, I couldn't find like an exact number of how many pieces you've actually sold. Like, what was it like in terms of like that early days of the snowball effect in terms of you getting a following on Twitter, you starting to sell pieces? Like, what was, I guess, like the key turning point? Like, what do you think actually helped you turn that corner?
Um, I don't know, man. Like it was like I'd never really even used Twitter
Hmm.
before crypto art, and I kind of found out like, oh, all of crypto art pretty much runs on Twitter.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the turning point was, I made my first couple of sales, and I just saw on Twitter and just the overall excitement
Hmm.
of all these people, and it's like at first I really didn't understand. I was like, why are people paying all this money
Hmm.
for something intangible?
Yeah.
And then I started with my homies at a company we started called Illumine. We were building these kind of interactive galleries where I could display my art and then also have a live stream stage. And it started to click with me, like the kind of like that interaction between the art and and the music, and being able to allow that to be a multiplayer experience. And
Hmm.
it started to kind of click with me what the value of NFTs could be and we're moving towards. So I started getting more serious. I was like, all right, I'm going to spend a little bit more time with the super rare thing. I know I got in there pretty early. um, so it took me a while to really understand what it was, but once that kind of clicked with me, what people could be using these things, these intangible digital assets for,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, then the ideas start flowing. It's like, you know, I'm going to make an animation, but instead of having the camera flying all over the place, I'm going to leave it fixed and
Hmm.
just move little things in it so that it looks like, a painting, but it's animated instead of, like an actual, like a VJ clip, like I would normally create, where it's like this, meandering journey through an art piece.
Hmm.
And I think that's pretty much when it clicked, when I was like, okay, like I want to, like my buddy Tennessee Jed, he's a really notable collector and really awesome guy. He actually lives in Orlando, and I went to visit him at his house, and he's got one of those meat murals where it's like a big digital mural,
Yeah.
and he had some of my art that he had purchased on it, and I was just like, huh, like I could create something if that's going to be sitting on his wall.
Hmm.
you know, it just made me think, like, what would I want to see in like a piece of art that's just shining so brightly on the wall? It's like I want to see something that almost resembles a painting, but there's little things moving, or there's little aspects about it.
Hmm.
And that's what kind of sent me full force into trying to create not only the coolest and most meaningful art that I could, but also something that the collectors would really value and want to display.
Hmm.
Whether it's in Decentraland and like those kind of galleries. Like
Hmm.
I just visited Nara Gallery, which is Gultra and his friend's new project.
Hmm.
Going in there and seeing all my art that he's collected and all the other awesome artists like Totemical
Hmm.
and Pack and all that stuff, and it's like it's unreal. Like I immediately see the value in
Yeah.
that, and I see why people want to collect and why they want to, you know, spend all the money on it because it's cool, you
Yeah.
know.
Do you think that like because something that I've also been trying to like explain to people is that I think that this wealth effect and the lack of indebtedness that is happening to a lot of people that were like early to the crypto space is also a huge boon to the success that people have had in NFTs. Do you think
Mm.
that if the bull run slows or stops, or you have a return to the 2018 to now period, right? Like of just
Right.
basically stagnation. Do you think
Mm.
that that's going to have like an impact in terms of like the purchases and the growth that's happening within the space?
I think yeah, like the actual movement of like Bitcoin and Ethereum in
Mm,
general does seem to really have an impact on, you know, especially like me as an artist. Um, like for example, right now, like I've released like 3 pieces recently on SuperRare. I haven't gotten bids on any of them,
mm,
and you know, my first reaction is to figure out, it's like, oh man, like, do they suck? Do I suck?
mm,
Am I in crypto jail? But then it's like, you got to think about it a little bit deeper. It's like, okay, what are the coins doing? How easy is it at this moment for a collector to decide, okay, I want to spend this money because, for whatever reason, when it could just go up, or whether it's going to tank or whatever.
mm,
Um, and then it kind of goes into what, like, the biggest thing I've been racking my brain over, for like the last few months is, am I trying as an artist, as far as like, the prices that I accept for my artwork, am I trying to chase Ethereum with that? Like, am I going to value myself in Ethereum?
mm.
So if ETH goes up to $10,000, do I still ask for like 8 ETH?
Yeah.
Just because that's what I was getting when it was down at 1,000.
Mm,
So it's like it's kind of a big thing that I know quite a few artists are having trouble with right now,
mm.
is how to decide when to hit accept, and how to kind of portray yourself and what you want to price your art at. And it's difficult and it's weird, and we're all just kind of learning this as we go along, and just acting as we go along,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think that part of what collecting is also speculating, right? Like people want something that's
Sure.
going to be worth, right? And so even if you don't resell it, right? Like even if you're like to like Pac, I had this discussion with Gultra, but like Pac had that point of hodling versus flipper, and so
Mm.
my personal take is like if you have a ton of money and you just want to flip it, like there's nothing stopping you, right? Like
Right.
for a little guy like myself, like I have to buy something that I really, really want, and I might
Mm.
decide that okay, I want this glass crane piece, and I want it forever, right? And so
Yep.
therefore, like that's my like purchase mentality, and I think that there's going to be like a lot of impact with yeah, like I agree with you that I think that Bitcoin and Ethereum prices are going to continue to impact it, but I mean, like everything, right? You ride the wave while it's coming.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. And it really does seem to be a wave.
Mhm,
And it's a wave that keeps rolling
mhm,
so far, which is awesome. But there are going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be, dry spells where, it's hard to sell your art, or others when it's like you can't keep it. You can't keep
mhm.
it around. It just keeps flying.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's always going to be different mentalities throughout the collectors. There are the collectors who are just in it to flip, and that's okay too, because I don't. Of course, I love when a collector buys something and it's like, no, I'm going to keep this forever. Like,
Mhm,
they're that attached to it, and like that's a great feeling. Um, but it's also cool when someone, and it's cool and it's flattering when someone, recognizes the value of something I've created, and knows that, you know, this is a sure bet to me. I'm going to be
yeah.
able to buy this, and I'm going to be able to flip it and make money.
Mhm,
And, and in turn, I'm of course getting secondary sales and stuff like that. So it's like, either way you slice it, there's value in it for me, because, you know, I think there's still that same mentality of whether a collector is going to flip your art or keep it forever.
mhm.
There's still that, ooh, I want that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we do this. We want our collectors to love our work and to see value in it.
Mhm,
And if a collector deems a piece of mine valuable enough to buy, then who am I to look down on them for another collector being like, no, I want to buy that from them. And if he's not quite as attached or whatever, and this guy is, do it,
yeah. Yeah. I like I definitely agree with it. I think that so long as the that I guess that would be my underlying argument, right? Like if the artist gets paid regardless, right? And it's not,
Mhm.
Pax piece going for $1 and he never sees anything else, right? Then who cares if the next time it sells for $10,000 is 5 seconds later? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like that's that's he gets paid and the person who gets it gets paid, and I think that's like the take in terms of my take with like the editions, right? Like I don't want I've collected some pieces that are, open pieces. And I
Mhm.
did like the Kobe piece and stuff like that. But overall, like for the most part, I've kind of given a lot of them a skip because I don't, I like the scarcity aspect, right? Like I try to collect based on some aspect of scarcity. And so I want that, one of one, one of five, one of 10. Once you get out of like
Right.
that one of 10 range, like I don't think that's quite as much of like the sweet spot. And maybe it's just me.
Mhm.
I just, like not that I want to have what other people don't, but I want to have unique. Like if that
Yeah.
makes sense, it's not a focus on others. It's a focus on self. I guess like would be the
Right.
difference if that makes any bit of sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I've also been giving a lot of thought to. The only platform I've really ever done anything with is Super Rare.
Mm,
And I've recently been contacted by Nifty to do a drop, and I'm having a hard time with it deciding.
mm,
Because it's like I, I see kind of that Super Rare stance where maintaining your art as super rare.
mm,
Um, and I totally get that, and that's ultimately that's like the ideal kind of thing is to provide a one of one that maintains its value. And it's
mm,
like if I were to do the nifty drop, it's going to be very low additions, if even I do any additions. But
mm,
yeah, it's been kind of a hard decision for me lately. I've
mm.
been kind of racking my brain over it because you know like obviously when you see these big artists making a shit ton of money
Yeah.
and some of these huge open edition drops, it's like, well, obviously it's tempting, but I'm very curious to see um the longevity
Yeah.
and how that works out for the artist in the long run. um I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I had.
So you're a collector as well. Like, how do you feel, like you said, you'd buy a one of one.
Mm,
So you kind of feel like, maybe like 5 or 10 editions. That's pretty much the max,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I start debating at the 10 point personally.
Mm,
Like in terms of like even just trying for it, right? Because on Nifty, it's not a guarantee, and so
right.
the current additions with like the Nifty is that they've been doing silent auctions, and
Mm,
I know it from like the sneaker game that stopping bots is extremely difficult, and
yeah.
I I don't want like when I first started collecting was like in between the Beeple 100 and then the Pack Lucky or the Pack the Title, and so
Yeah.
that was my like beginning. But like I looked into it a little bit, but in terms of trying and actually trying for
Mm,
pieces, and so like right around that time, some woman got caught buying like 3 out of 10 on like one
mm,
account, and I guess like the bot just kept on checking it out, and
yeah.
so I guess like until there's a more elegant solution, then okay, fine. Like I don't want it to just get into the hands of botters, but at the same time, the drawback is like the silent auction prices out me as like a little guy. Like okay, like what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Okay, I save up my schmeckles, and like I get my $1,000 bid. If that hits, now I'm not buying for a little bit. Like I'm out of the game. But
Yeah.
if you go for something that's like $300 to like $1,000, like okay, like maybe I would have bid that anyway. But like once you like some of those pieces on the open editions are still going for 3 to 5 grand. So like all right,
Right.
I'm out. I can't win that. And
Can't. Yeah.
so I think that the chance, right? Like the pack lucky going for $1, the pack flipper going for $1, the other pieces that are just 3 to 500, and then somebody gets a come up of whatever it is, 2 3 grand because they happen to get the
Mm,
1 of 1 or the 10 of 10. Then if they flip it, hey, now they get to collect 2 more pieces and keep on trying for other flips. Like I think that
right.
that's part of that chase is going to contribute to the growth and the pervasiveness of digital art. I think that
Sure.
you can't have this game growing without the little guy also being able to get involved.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you made an interesting point about the sneaker game too. Like I'm a sneaker guy too.
Mm,
I like collect Adidas Ultra Boost pretty much.
yeah,
But like the whole issue with the bots, and it's kind of concerning too, because it enables people who could really want something not to have a chance.
yeah,
You know, um, I mean, it's also, I'm interested to see in the future, as far as like take Super Rare for example, like
mm,
what happens when Super Rare starts aggregating sales from Nifty Gateway.
Mm.
What happens when, say you have your average as an artist, and your average is this. Now, what happens to your average when, all of a sudden you have 5,000 open edition sales get
Yep.
factored right in, and it's like, okay, so now your average is this,
Yep.
and now it's like, from a collector's standpoint, how much does that average matter now?
Mm.
So I feel like there's definitely a shift in the meta coming,
Mm.
with these big hype drops, and I'm still kind of at a loss to figure out what the right thing is to do,
Mm.
because it almost seems to be like a get get fast cash now,
Yep.
or hold out and accumulate in slower increments,
Mm.
and it seems to just be split down the middle as to which one people want to do.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I had
it's weird.
you know Loopify, right? I'm assuming he's like pretty big in the he had the NF trees, I think would be the correct
Yeah,
pronunciation. And so
for sure.
he asked like what do people want like deep dives on? And so I reached out and my take is like okay, like in like the 6 month obviously NFTs are so new and the growth has been so expansive in like recent even weeks, right? Days that
Mhm.
the data is not going to be as amalgamated in terms of like long-term effects. But like I'm curious like okay, if you do, an addition of I don't know, say, tens, like a couple of sets of tens, and then you also
Yeah,
sell, an open edition. Like which artist or which artwork is generating more cash for that person, right? Like cuz
right.
I forget who, I think it's Boss Logic. Boss Logic put out the Kobe piece that I got. I'm 90% sure. And if I fuck that up,
Hmm.
then my bad. But I think he put out the Kobe
Hmm.
piece. And so, that the Kobe piece is open, right? But then he had a bunch of other pieces that were not open. And so I'm curious, like, because the Kobe's like, I keep track of, the sales and stuff to that extent. And so, like I like to know what things are going for. I haven't really seen any crazy numbered edition selling for more than I don't know, say 1,200. A lot of people right
Right.
after like the drop happened, they were in chat like commentating on how this guy bought like 3 to 5 editions and he lost like $500 like that just selling it back on the open market for less than what they originally went for because he's just gambling for a good number. He's just like, oh, okay, if I
Right.
buy 5 of them, I'll try for something.
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally.
but that's
Yeah.
you go.
No, I totally see what you're saying. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Hold on, I had a point. The Oh, well, another thing too is about like these different platforms. Like, it seems like a lot of just being an artist is also having like a good variety of
Mm,
collectors. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, and like, I've kind of found myself in an interesting position where, it's a good problem to have. I found some success in crypto art, and then, I was making a good amount, for my artwork. But then it's like, if I still continue to sell one of ones, I'm kind of locked into that sort of price range where, new collectors can come in, and, maybe it's harder for them to get my art because, it's no longer priced for them.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like a part of me, obviously would like to maintain a high average, and to get a good amount for my art.
Mm,
And then a part of me also wants, anyone who actually wants my art to be able to have a chance to get it as
mm,
well. So that's kind of another thing I'm battling is, actual growth as an artist, um, when it pertains to, you know, making my art more available to new collectors in
mm,
different spaces.
yep.
But it's just hard because SuperRare has treated me so well, and I love all those guys, and
Mm,
but it's like, I don't know what to do. It's just kind of one of those things that I'm either gonna pull the trigger on something one day or not. You
mm.
know?
Yeah, I think so. So to that extent, right? Like, do you think that a semi like a semi good solution? This is whatever it's spitballing, but maybe like you're saying that you're unable to sell like 3 of the pieces. Maybe you have like a
Mhm.
timeline where okay, like 2 of them are going into the vault. Maybe I drop them,
Mhm.
maybe I don't. One of them will do like a giveaway, and that way you still have those people who are like whatever. I understand that giveaways are kind of gimmicky, right? And so you're gonna get somebody who's looking for a come up, but at the same time, like that's the ability to get into the space for whatever a nominal sum of $1 or free. That kind of collector,
Right.
like especially with your clout, right? Like that's something where somebody goes, wait, okay, so if I get this, I can make 5 grand, and then with that five
Mhm.
grand, like maybe I start buying other ones, and like that, continuation, like will I don't know. I just think it would be an interesting way of, again, to your point of getting new collectors, getting new people interested in your work, but also being able to. You don't want to put out a million pieces. And so I think
Right.
that's like another thing that is, I'm sure that has gone through your head, because people puts out a piece of art every day, but he doesn't sell a piece of art every day. And so
Exactly.
if you're putting out art, you want to put out the better stuff, the good stuff, like you said. And so if
Mhm.
you give away a good piece that maybe doesn't sell, that still can generate like hype around your name and get another person into collecting. So I don't know.
Totally. Actually, yeah, I never really thought of that. Like I've definitely given a few pieces away, but it's mostly to like friends, you
Mm,
know. Like Zach from SuperRare is a
mm,
really awesome guy, and gave me a lot of advice coming in, and so I ended up making him like kind of a 3D rose,
mm,
to commemorate his brother, and kind of the whole reason why he's SuperRare roses.
mm,
Um, and then like recently, I gave a piece to Ryan, to Tennessee Jed,
mm,
and just because he really liked it,
mm.
and I just wanted to do it, and it's like
Yep.
it feels good to do that, because it's no matter how you slice it, it's about more than the money,
Yep.
and it's like I think it's pretty evident that most artists aren't just doing this for the money. Like the
Mm,
money's great,
yep.
but it's like it's all about making people happy, and inspiring others, the way that we were inspired.
Mm,
So I actually really like that idea. Maybe that's something I will do. I was actually talking with Android the other day, and we're trying to kind of think our way around this whole thing,
mm.
and we might end up just trading some artwork,
Yeah.
like just Android will trade me one of his, I'll trade him one of mine. It's like, okay, it's not selling, or maybe it hasn't grabbed the right collector,
Mm,
but why not? It's going to be
yep.
good for, like, I love when I see artists that also collect, because it doesn't mean you're bad if you don't, but it's
Mm,
like it just kind of shows that there's a deeper kind of love for art, where it's like, it's just really cool when I see an artist buy another artist piece,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah. For
and
sure.
it's like it shows support, and I think I'd love to see more of it,
Mm,
honestly, you know.
yeah. I forget if I had this talk with like Lane or another guy, William the Third. I think William the Third, but I was saying like that, as an artist, you're in a unique situation where like I can't bring shit to the table in the digital space, but like you have, exactly that, of the ability to trade, or like, hey, like this piece didn't sell, trade for that, or I just really like it. Do you want one of mine? Like, here's
Yeah,
things coming on market.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's an awesome idea. I would love to. I've been meaning to get a totemical piece too, so I'm gonna pitch that to him.
Nice, nice.
That's
Um,
that's another fellow. That's another fellow you should hit up for an interview as well. He's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I have to actually reach out. I had opened up his page yesterday when I was going through. I didn't do it yesterday. I have the page still sitting up, but basically when I was going through the Android Jones work, Android Jones doesn't allow DMing, so I have to figure out another way around that. But we'll see if he's interested too, because maybe he doesn't
I
want to
can.
talk.
I'll ask him for you. I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm sure he'd be interested. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. But I guess like what kind of who else do you take inspiration from? And to a, I guess, larger point in terms of inspiration, do you have plans on doing anything that's interactive, similar to like PAX piece with the creation?
Yeah. Well, I think I do have an interactive idea in mind, and
Mm,
that idea is going to largely depend on whether I decide to expand at all beyond Super Rare.
mm,
As I said, it's still something where it's like I'm kind of racking my brain about it. I'm trying to just get more data, as
mm.
to see, if that's the right thing to do or not. But I do have something kind of cool and interactive planned. I can tell you it involves crane eggs, you know.
Nice.
So I'd like to create, almost like kind of an Easter egg hunt, kind of,
Mm,
just make it fun, like a fun way to acquire a collectible.
mm,
Um, Pack's definitely a huge inspiration. I don't half the time I feel like I don't know if I either agree or disagree with what he's doing, because there's no way to, like,
mm.
he's Pack, and there's
Yep.
no one else like him.
Mm,
So it's I'm always tempted to try and compare myself and try to see, okay, why can I get a little of this flavor into what I'm doing? But it's like it's not. That would just be forced. You
mm,
know what I mean? And it's like every artist kind of needs to carve their own path. But me personally, I like Pack a lot, and I think he's super talented.
mm,
And he gets a lot of hate, and I think a lot of that is just a lack of understanding.
mm.
Like especially like his latest drop with Maker's Place, yeah. And I don't think he was trying to steal Michelangelo's art
No.
and profit off of it. That just defeats the purpose.
Mm,
But I think his polarizing nature is what ultimately creates the artistic element
Mm.
to his work.
Yeah.
And that just seeing that happen and seeing so much hate being slung at him, and then also on the other flip of the coin, so many people defending him who actually understand what he's trying to do. um I can see from like certain point of views how some people would consider anything he's doing gimmicky or whatever, but it's
Mm.
like maybe alone it could be, but the desired effect that he would have, or the kind of chaotic effect that ends up coming from it, is what gives it its value. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like that's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think that like the discussion point, right? Like that is the piece,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
like the explanation of the title, right? Like got like having to explain that to people when somebody goes, wait, they're all the same. It's like,
Hmm.
like are they? Like how like the title versus the actual piece. I had this is I want to say to maintain. Basically, we just I was talking with my buddy, and the description that we had is Pac is basically Kanye West, and Beeple is like Jay-Z, and like that's the comparison that we had between like the two of them, where like Kanye,
Fair enough.
even pre-Trump, right, like regardless of politics, like was divisive, right, like he comparing
Mhm.
himself to Jesus and all that kind of stuff, like he's one of those guys where like his music people loved it or they really like hated it, and he stimulates the chat, and like Jay Z just consistent, just bangers, right? And so like that was the I
Mhm.
don't know the rap comparison of Pac and Beeple.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in any space, whether it's music or crypto art or whatever, there's always that kind of polarizing entity
Mhm.
that, as much as anyone would want that entity to go away or
Mhm.
think that they're harmful, um, that that particular presence is among the most important, I think, in any kind of community, just because so much innovation comes from you know such a polarizing, whether it's event or drop or
Mhm.
whatever. Because I know after I've seen his things, some of his drops or whatever, I could think to myself, I don't think I would do that. But that's
Mhm.
okay because I'm not Pac. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But it gets me thinking like, oh well, maybe if I do this, like I
Mhm.
could I could it starts to get my creative juices flowing as far as to some different ways I could make something I'm doing more interactive. And it's like I think a lot of people have have been affected by Pac in that aspect,
Mhm.
where it's he does his thing his own way, and it's not replicable. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? If anyone tries to pull pretty much any of the last few drop he's done, people are just gonna look at him like, what? Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? You know? So I think the point Pac's trying to prove is to understand that art can mean more than what's right in front of you. And
Mhm.
the fact that NFTs themselves aren't something you can hold in your hand, that just means that they can be anything as long as there's value assigned to it somehow.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And then, like you said, with Beeple's more the you know dig your heels into the ground, create art. This is the art I've created. This is the art you're getting.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in that too.
Mhm.
Because like when people made 3.5 million in a weekend, you know, I like I would get mad seeing haters
Mhm.
about that, because like it's like, okay, I get the open edition thing and people who might not agree with that or whatever, but it's like, no, this is the culmination of 13, 14
Yeah.
years of creating art every day, and then not receiving. I mean, I'm sure he always made decent money, art directing and doing what he did, but it's like seeing that was like, fuck yeah, for
Yeah.
digital artists. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like that's what happens. That's what you get. That's how the world, kind of conspires to uh to fulfill your destiny, as far as the amount of work you put in and your return out of it. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. That result of grind, basically.
yeah, it's literally hard work, just boom, given
Yeah.
right back to him.
Yeah.
you know
I think like Pac is the the disruptor, and like Pac is also the preventer of like the hoity-toity taking hold. Like it's one of those
yeah.
things where you know it's just a fuck you to like whatever you thought the space was supposed to be, going to be,
Yeah.
could be. Like it's whatever Pac wants it to be as far as Pac's art,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
to your you go.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, to your point in terms of people trying to, you know, copy or replicate or anything like that. Like people need to. I kind of think that there's like a balance of like what is your vibe, and allowing your vibe to change, but at the same time, like, your vibe is like whatever path you're on. Pack's over here doing something else. Like, you could bring in aspects, but like you still have your route, right? And I think
Right.
that, to my earlier point, I think that it would be cool if, you as Glass Crane don't make DMT stuff because you decide you want to do noir stuff, or, like all black. Like, if that becomes your, phase a year or two down the line, I'm
Hmm.
all for it. Like, I'm all for the pivot, right? Like, I don't think that you as an artist should just go, well, I want to make an all black piece, but the DMT stuff, like,
But
you're
that's
leaning into
yeah,
it. Yeah. Like,
right,
at a certain point, like, you got to do, like, your passion is going to show through the work, in my opinion. And so whatever
right.
style somebody wants to make should be allowed, right? Like, to the music point, somebody
Totally.
puts out like a totally different album, it like blows people's minds, right? Like, Childish Gambino is no longer Childish Gambino. He's just fuck, what's his actual name? Uh,
Oh,
Crap.
Glover,
Yes,
Glover,
yes, yeah, Donald Glover.
Donald Glover. Yeah.
Yes. And so now he is Donald Glover, and he puts out, the 3005 album, and it's like, all lyrical, like super talented, no longer really quite as, rap heavy and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I personally am sitting there going, oh man, I really like the rap stuff. I go to see him live. He only plays the new stuff. I'm like, shit. Like, I like the old,
Yeah.
like, but to people, like, that pivot is growth, right?
He's a really great example too. Like one of my favorite internet jokes. Like if you like click on Childish Gambino anything on YouTube and then look in
Mm.
the comments, and it's like, is this the same Donald Glover who's the actor? It's like, no. Everyone's like, no, it's not. Like, there's no way. There's no way it could be the same dude. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's no way anyone's that talented that
yeah,
they can do more than one thing.
yeah.
You know? And yeah, no, I agree, man. Like, there's a lot of room in the space for experimentation, and I think the collectors sense that too. And I feel like the probably the biggest reason that collectors are shelling out all this money to artists is, it's that investment into the artists
Mm.
to grow. Like that's part of it. And like even like I know Gultra has that mentality as well. Like it's an investment into the artist so that they have the financial freedom and time necessary to experiment and
Mm.
be the best that they can be and to let it all out. You know.
Yeah. So I guess you had mentioned that you only had an hour, so if you have like a hard cut now, that's fine. But I like to
I'm,
close
I'm
out.
good for I'm
No?
good for yeah I'm good for a little bit.
Okay. I figured we'll close out. It's the question that I've really enjoyed asking people is like, what question, if you were in my shoes, would you ask yourself? And it's free form, so hit it.
What question if I was in your shoes?
Would you ask you?
Uh, oh man, I don't know. Like, what's my favorite sandwich, maybe, or like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one. Got nothing.
No.
All right, so, what have others had? What have others said? Like, give
Uh,
me like an example.
so you know Elo too, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So he
Very good friend
asked
of mine. Yeah.
he asked himself, what is your purpose in life?
Okay.
And
Well,
then I got an I don't know.
can I steal Elo's?
Hit it.
Sweet. Yeah. No, Sean is like he's awesome. Really awesome dude.
Yep.
Like like ludicrously intelligent.
Yes.
Um, but and he's taught me a lot too, and it kind of go and I feel like he's asked me that question before as
Mm,
well. I would ask him like things about art or or some advice on something like that,
mm,
and he would always kind of turn it back on me as well, what's the purpose of it, like what are you trying to convey,
mm.
you know and I think that is an important question that actually you should just ask every interviewer. um, but my answer is just to inspire others. You
Mm,
know what I mean? I wouldn't be where I am without being inspired. So I guess my ultimate goal would be to inspire others in that same way. And if I can, go out of my way to do that, that's what I'll do. Because ultimately, the level of inspiration and positivity that radiates throughout the community is going to ultimately just make everything better. All the ships rise with the tide.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I think
Thanks.
I think that's it's a good pursuit in life, right? Like, it's one of those things that people should aspire to help others, to better others. I think that the mental focus on yourself of like what is your purpose in life, even just like the 1 year, 5 year game plan, like, to your point, right? Like, that obsession, or even just like the ability to manifest. Like, if you don't set goals, you don't achieve anything. Like, you're wearing
Yep.
an Adidas tracksuit. I'm not gonna make this assumption that you're actually into b-boying or breakdance and stuff like that. I tried to learn breakdancing in 2020, and I don't know honestly if Corona was like no, he really should not try and learn how to dance, and that's where Corona from. That might be my fault, but I have not accomplished that because Corona. But like I was going to breakdance
Yeah.
classes as a 20-year-old, 28-year-old dude. When I tell you I'm not artistic, like, yo, I am really bad at dancing. I'm better off drawing,
Yeah.
and I can't draw for shit. Like that's how bad I am at dancing. Um, yeah, but I think that I will start asking people that. I will start asking
Mhm.
people what their purpose is in life, because maybe people who watch will also ask themselves that, and then it'll help them to manifest a better destiny, kind of thing, if that's the correct terms.
Yeah. Well, because it's almost like if you're starting a company, you usually define like your core principles,
Hmm.
and I've always found that it's helpful, because I've thought about that question, a lot, like what is my purpose? What am I doing?
Hmm.
And it's always good to kind of uh, I don't know, like juxtapose whatever kind of decision or artistic endeavor or whatever you're doing against that core principle. So it's like, is what I'm doing inspiring others? Is what I'm doing, does it have the capacity to inspire others?
Hmm.
And it's like, you know, or is what I'm doing have like a secondary aspect to it where it inspires others?
Hmm.
Because it's like there's always that kind of egocentric need to, to either get money or provide comfort for yourself or your own family,
Hmm.
and it's like you always gonna have to weigh whatever you're doing against what you're doing it for in the first place.
Yeah.
It's all about like kind of sticking to your roots and not losing sight of why you did something to begin with.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think to even that point, right? Like the secondary aspect, right? It's something that's newly came out, but like, have you heard third hand smoke, where it's like built into like the walls and the carpet and stuff like that? In terms of secondhand smoke, right? There's like third hand smoke, which is like your car or the carpet or the walls and stuff to that extent. And
Okay.
that's a very negative, gross thing. But we'll flip that into the positive, which is like the tertiary aspect is like what ripples are you creating in the world in terms of like you bettering somebody else or helping somebody else to improve? How else are they like spreading that positivity after the fact? And so that's immeasurable, but at the same time, you bringing good is bringing untold multiplications of good, right?
Yeah. Totally. And like every time I either do like an interview or whether it's written or in person, like I always kind of end with something that Android said to me once, which is all in all, just look at your hands and try to analyze how much of those hands helped others,
Hmm.
you know? And that's like if you kind of stick to something like that, where it's like, if you try to, take all the selfishness within you and just kind of put it up against that philosophy, you know, even if you don't, even if you don't adhere that fully, in trying, you're going to be getting closer and closer to the self that you want to be, that you want to inspire others, that you want to be a good person and be transparent, which is what Glass Crane is all about, just about transparency and inspiration, you know.
Yeah, dude, I think that's the close.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well, hell
Thank
yeah, thank you for this. This has been awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I try to hit some topics that other people weren't hitting, but I appreciate the time.
Appreciate your time too, man. Yeah, take it easy, and I'll be watching. I'll be watching all your future podcasts. This is great. You're very good at it.
Thank you, man. It's a work in
Yeah,
progress.
yeah, hell yeah.
Thanks, man.
Hey guys, I hope you guys appreciated Glass Crane. I had a blast. The guy is super chill. Hopefully, we get some more podcasts with him, some of his buddies. Maybe start doing some conjoined podcasts with, artists that collab and stuff to that extent. But hopefully, this was insightful and you guys liked it. As always, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate the time. Peace.